Hi, I'm Mikey Sklar at Holy Scrap Hot Springs, and today I want to show you the recipe we use for making French bread. This is a really easy bread to make. We make it probably once or twice a week, and it's a lot of fun. First, I like to start with the yeast because it takes the longest to get ready. I have a little over a cup of water here, and the thermometer in it is right now reading about 100 degrees, which is the temperature I like to use for starting the yeast. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of sugar. This bread recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. We have 2 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm going to go ahead and stir it up. Now we want to go ahead and add 2 teaspoons of bread yeast. Now I'm not going to come back to this cup until it really starts foaming. Look how still and quiet it is. I'm not going to stir it up anymore. I'm just going to wait for this to foam up. That's when we know our yeast is really getting hydrated, it's active, it's ready to add to the bread. Okay, our next step is to go ahead and mix our dry ingredients together. So for dry ingredients, we have flour. We've already used our sugar, so we can put that to the side. We have a little bit of rosemary, some salt, and some dried onion powder that for some reason has turned into a ball. So we'll have to shave that in. Anyway, we'll go ahead and start here. This is a ½ cup measurement, and I like to use 3 full cups, so 6 of these. So half, 1, got our flour in, and that's 3 cups of flour, and I like to shake a kind of random amount, I'll say about 2 tablespoons of rosemary into this bread. In terms of salt, you got to be careful. Even at just being a little off will overdo it. So in salt, I'm going to use 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And if you go over that, everyone's going to know because it's going to be really salty. And finally, the last step here is to shave off some of this dried garlic, and yeah, I'm just going to shave it up. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons, and actually it's dried onion. Right, I'm at the Cuisinart here, and I've got the top open so that I can go ahead and mix in our now foaming yeast sugar mixture. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a little swish at this point just because I'm just about to pitch it. I want to grab it all and not just have any stuck to the sides and bottom. So let's go ahead and... That was a few pulses just to mix it up. And here we go. Okay, finally there's one last ingredient, and it's just a little bit of olive oil. So I like to do about 2 tablespoons. And I usually don't measure it because it makes a mess of everything. So that ball texture is what I like to see, where it all just comes together in one big ball. So let's go ahead and throw this into the fermentation chamber, and we'll come back in about an hour letting it just rise. Here we are at the fermentation chamber. You can see this is just a light bulb in a box, and this box is an insulated box because it used to be a wine fridge. So I just ripped off the old electronics and put a light bulb on the back, and I put my own little controller in here where I set the temp to 88 degrees, so it's a nice rise temperature. So we'll put our whole Cuisinart thing in here, and we will come back in 1 hour after this has been rising. In fact, I'll turn it so you can see it better. Alright. Okay, we're back. It's been an hour. Look at that rise. We got quite a bit of air in that dough, which is great, so let's go punch it down. Okay, I have the risen bread dough back on the Cuisinart. I'm going to go ahead and run it for a moment. And now I've run it, so it's time to punch it down. So let's go ahead and move it over. Right here we got some flour on a cutting board, and I'm just going to go ahead and roll our bread dough so that it fits in nice long lengths. Alright, I'm liking how this came out. So I went ahead and rolled these up. Not that smooth, but you know, they're in the general shape of a French bread. I know they're a little phallic, look like something else, but we're going to throw these back in the fermentation chamber now for an hour. Alright, you can see my fermentation chamber is a little bit small for this tray, so I always have to put it at a tilt. But that works. And I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for 1 hour, and we'll pull these out, and it's time for the oven. This bread has been rising for an hour. See, we got pretty good rise out of this. We can go ahead and throw it in the oven now. So the oven is set for 350, and we're going to put it in for 45 minutes. And we are going to have some beautiful French bread after this. Great for sandwiches, goes well with pastas, just gets all your carb needs taken care of. Alright, it's been 45 minutes and our bread smells terrific. The whole house smells amazing. And here we go. French bread. Voila. It's just that easy.